Good morning. We are 2 days away, actually less than 2 days away from Purim, and Purim uh, reflects the amazing resilience and survival of the Jewish people. And the question is, what new message might there be from Purim in 2025 that didn't exist in 2024 and 2023 and so on and so forth? Let me give you a suggestion. Up until very recently, the ills of the Jewish people were not just criticized by the people of the world, the anti-Semites, or people just observing. The critics of Jews, more often than not, were themselves. One group of Jews felt that the other group was out of line, out of touch, and actually endangering them. Take a look at what happened during the time of Mordechai and Queen Esther and Achashverosh. Mordechai refuses to bow down to Haman, or Haman, as you commonly say. What is the reaction of the assimilating Jews of Shushan? The assimilationists would say that Mordechai is putting us into danger. Mordechai, by his obstinance, makes everybody else into a possible sacrifice. It's these ultra-Orthodox Jews that bring danger to the Jewish community. Isn't that what's happening today in Israel? The business with the lack of response of the yeshiva boys to the army. The yeshiva boys are a danger to the rest of us because they make everybody else sacrifice for themselves. They are selfish, and they're making us endangered. During the times of anti-Semitism at its height in the 20th century, there was a phenomenon called the Ostjews and the Westjews. Ostjuden and Westjuden. Ostjuden are Eastern Jews, usually associated with Orthodox beliefs, although the truth is that the Ostjuden, the Eastern Jew, weren't all Orthodox, at least not in the 20th century. The 19th century, yes, but in the 20th century, I'm not sure that the majority of Jews in Russia or even in Poland were Orthodox. The towns, the small towns were Orthodox. Large cities, for the most part, weren't, or at least they weren't overtly, absolutely religious. I mean, they kept Shabbos in Warsaw, but the people did not look very Orthodox. There were a lot of things in Warsaw, pre-World War II Warsaw, that were not appropriate. So what exactly was going on? What was going on was the people who were enlightened, the Western Jews, mostly in Germany, maybe in France and the Netherlands and so on, those countries, felt that they were sophisticates, that they had learned the ways of the West, and they integrated themselves sufficiently to be liked, whereas the Ostjuden still refused to integrate themselves and made a bad name for them. And they thought that anti-Semitism was directed for the Ostjuden. Of course, Hitler destroyed that pipe dream because he attacked not just the Oststudent, but also the Weststudent. They were the first to go. So the same thing exists today. There are those who claim that the radical right-wing Zionists, they're the ones who are putting us in danger. Sophisticated people who want to make peace with the Arabs, although that's the way to go. We have to learn to live with our neighbors, and we have to compromise our desire for our holy land and give them what they want. They want a state, we'll give it to them. So look at what happened October the 7th. Who were the ones that were attacked? Who were the ones that were killed for the most part? These were not the settlers, the right-wing settlers in Judea Samaria. Kibbutz Be'eri contained some of the most liberal Jewish people in the world. They believed that the people in Gaza were their southern neighbors, and they were very cordial to them, helped them, would take them around, give them jobs, take them to doctors, and so on. And those were the very first people to be killed. October 7th took away the mask that there's a distinction between one type of Jew and another. And that's what happened at Purim. The people who were assimilationists claimed that it was Mordechai, this radical, this ultra-Orthodox, intransigent person, making everybody else uncomfortable, making everybody else in danger. What did Haman do? What was Haman's attack? Haman's attack was not on the people like Mordechai, but on all of the Jews in every part of the Persian Empire. And this was a mortal danger for every Jew in the world, because all the Jews in the world at that time lived under the Persian Empire. The Greek Empire, which would smash the Persian Empire, wasn't there yet. It was a few years afterwards that the Greeks came and smashed the Persians. But that took another 30 years or so till that reality came. The Greeks, according to our books, the Greeks destroyed the Persian Empire under Darius the Great, the beginning of the Second Temple period, and that took place a few years after the miracle of Shushan, the miracle of Purim. But at that time, before the Greeks started their expansion, all the Jews in the world were under the Persian Empire, and every single Jew in the world was in danger, even those who were assimilationists. So Haman's decree put to lie the argument of the assimilationists. It's all Mordechai's fault, because if Haman hated the ultra-Orthodox, the ones that would not bow down, why attack the assimilationists? They bowed down. They ate at the feast of Achashverosh. Why is he? The answer is anti-Semitism knows no bounds, knows no identity other than Jew. The hatred of Islam, of not radical Islam, of all Islam, against the Jew is all Jews. Now, do all Islamists, do all Arabs hate Jews? The answer is probably not. But all those who are believers in Islam believe that ultimately the Jews will have to be destroyed. In fact, there's a day that they call the Day of Al-Aqsa that will happen when the great Imam that they're waiting for will come. And there's a day that they'll get rid of the Saturday people, and then they say they'll get rid of the Sunday people. And then, of course, they will have reached their, whatever is their ultimate level. That's what they believe. But the whole thing of Purim is a mask, the unmasking of the assimilationist. The assimilationist thought that he was covered by his assimilationist tendencies. You know, there was a there is a question as to the historical data of the Jewish people. We date the destruction at 422 before the Common Era. We date the beginning of the Second Temple period, 70 years later, the year 352 before the Common Era, approximately. So some make it 351, 350. Depends upon certain dating factors that I'm not going to go into right now. But when did the destruction of the temple take place? Did it take place in the year 68? According to Rama, it was 69. According to modern historians, it was 70. So that would make the building of the temple either the year 352, 351, or 350 before the Common Era. Doesn't make a difference significantly, but it's 164 years approximately. Rabbi Hul says it's 168, but it's 164 years difference between Jewish sources and the historians. And the question is, obviously, who's right? That's first of all. Second of all, how come our history is supposedly missing 164 years? So one of the suggestions written by a very serious student, Rabbi Shimon Schwab, in the 1950s, in a very long letter, Rabbi Schwab suggested that the assimilationist tendencies under the Persians were so bad that the rabbis decided to remove that part of our history and to cover it up completely. And therefore, no mention of all of those kings and of the Persian Empire that we were under. We have only 3 or 4 kings. There's 10 of them, and we got rid of about 6 of them or 7 of them because during that period we were so assimilationist, we almost lost our identity completely. The rabbis considered that the darkest days of our history and removed it from our history. Of course, it's a very, very difficult thing to promote, but the idea behind it is, the reason behind it is that the assimilationist tendencies in the time of the Persians was as bad or worse than the assimilationist tendencies that we have today in the United States and Western Europe. And that's why, according to Rabbi Schwab, there was this move to remove those years. Or what would they have said about today? I don't know. But according to Rabbi Schwab, the assimilationist tendencies were so bad that the rabbis wanted to remove them. Getting back to our idea, the time of Haman, the time of Mordechai, had these groups of Jews who criticized the Orthodox. They said the Orthodox, the ultra-Orthodox, are putting us in danger. If they lived like us, assimilationist Jews, that we were sophisticates, we knew how to get along with the Persians, with all the Gentiles. If they lived like us and were more like us, then there wouldn't be these problems. The people in Tel Aviv say the same thing about the settlers in the West Bank. If they were more like us, living in in Tel Aviv and Haifa, we get along with all these people. We're cosmopolitans. Sure, the missiles that they're raining on Israel are directed only against the West Bank, the ultra Zionistic West Bank settlers. They're not going to Tel Aviv or Haifa, right? That's so stupid. The mask of Persia has been removed. And in this 2025, the mask of the lunacy of the left-wing Jews, has been removed. They're not just attacking guys like me or guys who believe that Israel is for the Jews. They're attacking those who are willing to negotiate parts of Israel. They want to attack every single Jew. They want to kill every single one of us. And the people that they attacked first were the people who were gathered in a concert on a Shabbos, on a holiday, totally irreligious, almost sacrilegious. They attacked them. They attacked Kibbutz Be'eri. They attacked the Jews that were most sympathetic to them. They attacked them first, killed them first, because their hatred knows no bounds. And so, what do we learn from Purim 2025 is anti-Semitism is not just against the Zionists, and not just against the Orthodox. Anti-Semitism is against those who are willing to negotiate, even those who are willing to accommodate. Anybody who's not a Muslim, anybody who's Jewish and does not accept Muhammad is hated by them. And this year there will be not just a miracle for the survival of the radical Zionists, there will be a miracle for the survival of all the Jewish people. One step after another, one nation after another is trying to uproot the Jews, and every one of them, one after another, is failing. And that's the message. The message is, we're all in this together. We all will be redeemed together, bit by bit, but very soon.